welcome back to Austin.
Thank you.
How exciting is this for you just to start really delivering this stuff?
Really, well, first of all, it's great to be in Austin. I love this city. But yeah, it's been a long time in the making, over 2 years, and to finally get to February and get in these bars and restaurants has been awesome. The reception has been fantastic. Really proud of what we were able to put together and make, and it's been a lot of fun for me to see the reaction of the consumers. It's been overwhelming. A lot of good things happening.
You bartended before?
I have. I've been doing more in the last week and a half than I ever have in my life. I did a little bit of that in college, but getting a lot better at it now.
How much did you do at St. Ed's, and what are your memories of coming back down here and training camp in the late 90s down here?
St. Edward's was fantastic. I mean, it really was. And it was a different time in the NFL to where you really practiced, with two-a-days and the pads and in the heat. They wouldn't practice in this kind of heat anywhere anymore. But, boy, some really fond memories. Our teams were forged during those years and during those weeks at St. Edward's. The city was always amazing. And then I hated that we left. We left Austin towards the end of my career, and we went to Wichita Falls. But I think we were here about 8 years and loved every minute of it.
I know you never get asked about the Cowboys, but since we're on the subject, what do you think has been missing for the last 26 now years?
It really is hard to believe. I mean, it's hard to believe because they've had some teams that have been good enough, and this year's was one of them. They just, unfortunately, haven't played their best football when they've gotten into January, and that's really tough because, on the one sense you'd say, why are the expectations as high as they are for a franchise that's won 3 playoff games in the last 20 whatever years it's been, but yet this year, as someone who goes around and covers all these teams, this team was as talented as any in football. So I think the expectations were realistic, and they just didn't play their best. And it's a long off season. It's a long regular season. It's another year before they get back and put themselves in a position to see whether or not they can get it done. But that's where they're at.
As a native of Dallas, how special is it for you to see Matthew Stafford in the Super Bowl and just kind of what he's gone through his career just to get to this point?
I'm really proud of Matt. I met him back when he was just out of high school. I had heard about him, went down in Highland Park. I live there now. And of course, he had a stellar high school career, had a great college career, and got to know him pretty well. And he really wanted to turn Detroit around, and I think in some ways he was able to do that, but he showed us this year that when you have good players around you, that was my career, that you can do some really special things, and there was a lot of expectations on him as soon as the trade was made. And so for him and that team to be now in the Super Bowl, which is where they were expected to be, is really cool. It usually doesn't happen that way, and he's handled everything the way that you would expect. He's an unbelievable guy, and I'm hoping he goes out and plays well. I think the world of Joe Burrow. I hope he goes out and plays well. It's just one of those games, unfortunately, somebody's going to lose.
Knowing those teams like you do, what do you expect to see on Sunday?
Well, I think the key really for Cincinnati is going to be, can they block up the Rams, and not many can. So that'll be a real challenge. He's been hit a lot. Joe Burrow has. They've given up a lot of sacks. I think it's a game you could look at and maybe discount Cincinnati a little bit, but I think that'd be a big mistake. I think people discounted them throughout the regular season and into the postseason. Their story is pretty remarkable when you look at what they weren't able to do the last 2 years, and then to come out of nowhere. But I will say that for Cincinnati, last year it was Cleveland, a few years ago it was Jacksonville. I think it's great for the NFL when teams like Cincinnati and others, emerge from the depths and go on and have the years that they have. And it's great for those fans. You think of all the Cincinnati fans over the years that haven't had a lot to cheer about. They do now, and they will for a long time with Joe Burrow as their quarterback.
What's the better story in the Super Bowl? Like Burrow or Stafford?
I don't know. I think they're both pretty special, and nobody as the first overall pick has gotten to the Super Bowl in his second year, like Joe Burrow. So that's pretty fantastic. And then Matthew Stafford's waited a long time. had never won a playoff game and finally wins one, and it's the same year that he goes on and is playing in the Super Bowl. You look at the Rams and how they were built, brought in a lot of big-name guys, all-star lineup, if you will. And then the way the Bengals did it, they did it kind of the old-fashioned way, the way we did through the draft and a few free agents. But here they both are. And so I think anytime you get to the Super Bowl, they're great stories for both teams. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I've always been a big fan of Mike's. They had a great regular season. And we just know how the Cowboys are judged. And when you don't get it done in the postseason, there's a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartbreak, and a lot of frustrated fans, I guess. So as someone once told me, that comes with the dinner, and you just accept it. And I know if you're a coach in the NFL, you accept it, but it's hard on these guys.
So they have the coach, they clearly have the talent, but those what's missing?
Well, it's just, it's a game played by humans, and when you don't go out and you play your best, you're not always going to be your best. And like I was saying, you just hope that you play your best when the games matter most. And unfortunately for them, that hasn't happened.
The Texans, they mean
Yeah. Yeah.
How excited is that?
I'm a big fan of Lovie Smith. He's been a head coach before. I think that's I don't want to say important, but I think that experience is really beneficial. He's been with the organization. He knows, kind of what's happened to the team. And, I feel for David Culley. I really enjoyed the game we had, getting to know him a little bit. I don't know that he had much of a chance, to be quite honest with you, with all the good players that left. But, all these jobs are hard. It seems like the Texans' job may be a little bit harder just because of where they are right now. But I'm pulling for Lovie. I'm a big fan of his.
Why is beer an industry that interests you?
I never thought I'd get into the beer business. I worked for a distributorship in college and did some things with some different beer companies, but I never thought I'd make my own beer. But I met my now partners through a mutual friend, and we started talking about it. I'm a light beer drinker. I've always liked beer. But I also am very mindful of my health and wellness and work out, careful about what I put in my body. But I didn't feel that was a conflict. I felt it was consistent with who I was. And so I thought if we can do a light beer, low-calorie, low-carb beer that complemented my lifestyle, then it was something I'd be interested in. And we were able to do that. And what's different about 8 is we don't have any adjuncts or fillers. So we don't have corn, rice, syrup, or added sugars. And it's 90 calories, 2.6 carbs, 100% organic grains. And so I refer to it as a better for you beer. And, if you work hard during the week and you're careful about what you eat and you're into health and wellness, it's nice to have a beer that you can go to and not compromise all of the work you put in. And I think 8 does that.
We're the headquarters here in Austin, or
We're headquartered here in Austin.
Why? So will we see more of you around town, or is it just?
Yeah, I sure hope so. It gives me another reason to come to town, which is doesn't take much. But we just felt that this beer is for the active lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle brand. And we just felt that Dallas would have been the easy location with me living there, but felt that Austin lent itself a little bit more to that. That the active, not that there's not people active in Dallas and other parts of Texas, but I think with as active as people are outdoors, that Austin would be a really great fit for us.